Hey everyone, hope you're all having a solid day today. For today's video, I thought I'd revisit a movie that launched an entire legacy. Now, when it comes to B movies, the man in a monster suit routine has always been a major staple on the creature genre, but there's one movie that took this idea and turned it into something far greater, and that movie is Godzilla from the year 1954. Now, the plot to this movie is pretty straightforward. 9 years after World War II, Japan starts getting back to being all well and good until some crazy shit starts going on in the form of ships getting destroyed out on the ocean. Two investigations later by scientists in the Japanese Coast Guard find out that the cause is a 50-meter or 164-foot tall prehistoric reptile who earns the name Godzilla after a sea monster from Japanese mythology, who comes ashore in Japan and turns the city of Tokyo into a pile of rubble and ash. Now, every character in this movie is very memorable, and that is because every single actor gives their absolute best. Now, my two personal favorite characters in this movie are Dr. Serizawa and Dr. Yamane, who are these two scientists who end up being on two different sides of the situation, which is, of course, Godzilla. What makes Dr. Serizawa such a more memorable character, such a big standout character, really, is that he's a tormented scientist who ends up creating a device called the oxygen destroyer, which can't be any more literal when it's explained and shown that the device sucks all of the oxygen out of water and liquefies every molecule, and at the same time asphyxiating every single living thing in its vicinity, turning all living things into skeletons. But until he can find a benefit to society from it, he doesn't want anyone to see it due to the fear of politicians wanting him to potentially give it up to be used as a weapon. So he's all messed up in the head with this whole thing. But in the end, he's forced to use the oxygen destroyer to get rid of Godzilla, but he kills himself and burns up his research notes so the entire world doesn't ever know how to develop the device. Then you have Dr. Yamane, who's a paleontologist who literally urges everybody throughout the entire movie not to kill Godzilla. And to be honest, I agree with that. I mean, yes, Godzilla does what he does to Japan, but at the same time, though, he is a living dinosaur who somehow survived getting hit with radiation from atomic weapons. Usually, any animal would instantly die from such power, but Godzilla? No. So throughout most of this movie, Dr. Serizawa tells everybody, no, we have to stop shooting at him, stop trying to kill him, we have to focus on how he survives this. And what kind of drives this point, well, not really kind of, but what kind of drives home that point is there's a scene where these fighter jets are shooting at Godzilla towards the end of the movie, and you can see this look on Yamane's face, like, oh my god, stop shooting at him. He's honestly my favorite character, my number one favorite character in this movie, to be honest with you. I mean, Serizawa was very sympathetic, but I do love Dr. Yamane more because he has sympathy for the big guy. Now, despite the fact that Godzilla is a man in a monster suit movie, the editing and dialogue make it go beyond that B-movie type idea. Going along with the shots of the G-Man wrecking shit, there's shots of people dying, rubble everywhere, a choir of young girls singing OP So Light Return. Like, this movie is treated as if the whole situation's a real disaster. The gritty cinematography adds to this foreboding mood, giving the movie a documentary type feel. This movie may be a monster movie, but the deep meaning of this is about the horrors of war and use of atomic weaponry. Now, we all know who the real star of this movie is, and that is, of course, Godzilla himself. Starting off with his design is basically Jurassic World before Jurassic World, and what I mean by that is that he is a mix of different dinosaurs. You can tell Tyrannosaurus Rex was used here, but the upright stance and positioning of his arms was taken from illustrations of Iguanodon at the time, and the dorsal plates are taken from Stegosaurus, but the points being added were made to distinguish him from any other reptilian animal. His face is made to look all burned and fucked up from radiation, making him more terrifying. Also, the fact that he breathes fire that's radioactive adds to his foreboding presence. And there's one shot in this movie that clearly demonstrates that. It's only like he has this foreboding presence throughout the entire movie, but there's one shot in particular that I feel demonstrates this fully is during the big Tokyo rampage sequence, where there's one particular shot where he turns towards the camera for a second and then he turns to the side and you see his dorsal fins glow and he shoots one blast of radioactive fire or atomic breath. And there's another scene that shows how unforgiving this animal is, where there's this mother holding her kids and she's looking up at Godzilla and he's coming right at him and she says to her kids, "Oh, don't worry, we're soon going to be seeing your father again." And then Godzilla shoots atomic breath at him. Okay, now there is no way that I could talk about this movie and not mention any of the behind the scenes stuff here. Now, Godzilla was played by stunt actor Haruo Nakajima in a suit that weighed 200 pounds and got up to 130 degrees on the inside. So not only did Nakajima have to deal with that, but then on top of that, there was the studio lighting. And then when it came to wrecking shit, all the fire was really there. So Nakajima had to deal with heat. Heat, heat, and guess what? More friggin' heat. It's a wonder this guy didn't die. I mean, yeah, he passed out a bunch, but still, it's a miracle he didn't die. Now, don't get me wrong, the special effects in this movie for the budget are great. They're really well done, the miniature sets are very elaborate, but still, the abuse that Nakajima dealt with while making this movie, I have never seen the purest definition of team player here. Also, when it comes to Godzilla's atomic breath, I recently learned this myself because I never knew this growing up. When you look at Godzilla's atomic breath, it's white. I know the movie's black and white, but still, I thought it was smoke the whole time. No, come to find out it's baby powder. No joke, baby powder. That's the last thing that I thought that they were going to use because I literally thought that it was a smoke blower inside the puppet that they used for close ups of Godzilla's face. But no, it's baby powder. I mean, the effect is pulled off well, but still, kind of an odd material to use. Now, there's one thing about this movie that I really think should have been kept as it was planned out, in my opinion. Now, this film does an amazing job at hyping up Godzilla. From the shipping disasters to Godzilla attacking a village without being seen to an old village elder talking about Godzilla in a mythological sense, saying that, oh, he's this horrendous sea monster that'll one day come ashore to fuck up humanity. So the movie really gets you excited, like, oh, he's this horrifying creature. And then 21 and a half minutes, yes, I timed it, into this movie, he shows up behind this hill and all he does is roar a couple of times and then walks back into the ocean like, peace, I'm out. The original idea that Toho had, and Toho's the studio that made this movie. Sorry, I never mentioned that at any point in this review, so that's my bad. But the original idea that Toho had for Godzilla's first appearance was meant to be more shocking, where Godzilla was supposed to have a dead cow hanging out of his mouth, and on top of that, the trees at the top of the hill were supposed to somehow catch fire, and Godzilla was supposed to be obscured behind the smoke before he returns to the ocean. Now, that would have made his appearance way more scarier. I mean, yes, Godzilla has a very foreboding presence throughout the entire course of this movie, but this original planned first appearance would have added more weight to how threatening he is. So overall, Godzilla 1954 is an amazing monster movie. It takes the idea of something that should have been a simple B movie and turned it into something deep and very thought-provoking. The special effects are amazing. All of the actors do a great job. Godzilla is amazing on screen. So, for those of you who have not seen this movie, definitely needs to see this movie. Straight up, I give this movie a perfect score of 5 out of 5. Alright, thank you all for watching this review. Please be sure to like, share, and please consider subscribing. All of the support you guys give this channel keeps giving me the more motivation to keep making more content for you all out there. So, have a good rest of the day and stay cheesy, everybody, and I will see you all in the next review.